Hello, viewers, and welcome to the program Nigeria Now on Echo Television International, where we keep you on your tips on what is happening in the nation. Quite a lot looking at human angle, looking at crime, security, and meet many other things. And I am Seda Elisha Dasha, your host for today, and I'll be doing this together with Jemima Emmanuel. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's afternoon, actually. I don't know why I'm so used to the
Good
morning
afternoon.
programs. Possibly that's why. Good afternoon, Jemima.
Good
How you doing?
afternoon. I'm fine.
All right, so let us move swiftly into what is happening. Quite a lot to chew, quite a lot to cover. Looking at when it comes to the issue of the removal of the fuel subsidy, quite a lot for Nigerians at a time like this, because we're looking at when Nigerians were hoping that something positive is going to come out from the entire removal of the fuel subsidy, and then it seems as if they're being hit back to back with one thing after another. We've just seen that recently, they're talking about the NLC, Nigerian Labour Congress, and also the TUC have come out to say that they are tired of waiting for the federal government. They have given them ample time to actually, look into providing palliative. Back was then when you hear the word palliative, it takes our mind back to the COVID, because mostly when you talk about palliative, you're looking at when people are going through a lot of distress, people are going through a lot of hardship. But then it's quite unfortunate that is the term we're using at a time like this, where Nigerians have, resort into trekking to one place or the other, to their places of responsibility, looking at the issue of high of food prices, transportation. I mean, it's a lot of things, and then Nigerians are just wondering, when is this hardship going to be over? And that's why they are waiting and looking up to the labor to actually come up with things. They are supposed to be presently today to actually look into what they will do, because TUC have said they are giving the federal government 2 weeks. Now, Jemima, my question is, because not really to get an answer, is the fact that is 2 weeks going to be enough for the federal government? Because looking at the fact that they have given them ample time and nothing have come up, and right now the TUC is saying they are giving the federal government ultimatum of 2 weeks, which is hopefully to elapse 18th of August or so. So right now you begin to ask, what is the way forward at a time like this, where we are being hit back and forth by various policies that are not sitting well with Nigerians?
Well, personally, I don't think 2 weeks is enough to be able to do all of these things, because they had a lot of time to do what they should have done, but they were not able to do it. And then 2 weeks would not cover. Humanly speaking, we can't be sure, because we are not God. It's only God that knows exactly what can be done. But looking at it humanly, I don't think 2 weeks is going to be enough. But then let's still give them the benefit of doubt and pray and see how it goes.
Jemima, what I'm worried, just like you said, that if you're looking at the fact that from the beginning, back then in June, when the labor said that they give them 8 weeks, and then it's supposed to elapse, just like I said, in August 18th, and then nothing has been done. In fact, recently on the papers this morning, we're seeing protests coming from Benin City, where a lot of protesters are coming out to say they are tired. It seems as if we're living in a cage. It seems as if nothing is working forward for us. You don't have the right now to touch let me bring it down home, to maybe here, for example, here in the Plateau State right now. Back was then when you see that it's rainy season, so you're supposed to get maybe Irish potatoes at a very cheap rate.
Very, very
but right
cheap.
now you cannot even attempt that. Possibly you have to stay together with your neighbors and come up together. It's okay, maybe we'll buy a bag and then share about 4 or 5 of us. That is to show how the cost of living is really, really going high. Somebody said that right now in Nigeria we no longer have the middle class.
No.
It's either you are rich
or you're poor.
And it breaks my heart, looking at this whole thing, Jemima, because we're supposed to be looking at a better Nigeria for everybody. Of course, when the president said he removed the fuel subsidy, a lot of people were happy because it seems few individuals were benefiting from the fuel subsidy payment. But then ever since it has been taken, we're yet to hear anything. Just we were going to talk looking at the $800 billion that was being given by the World Bank. Till date, nothing. We're going to talk about the 8,000 naira that Nigerians were really, shouting. Maybe that was why the president set up a committee to look into reviewing that. But then even the 8,000 naira, how many people are going to benefit from it?
Exactly. Even those that would have gotten it, how far would it have gone for them? Prices of foodstuff have gone really high. What can you buy with 8,000 naira that will be enough for you? Even if it was 50,000 naira, I don't think it will go a long way.
True.
So that amount wouldn't really have done much.
Of course, I really agree with you, because it seems that if you're taking, just recently we saw where someone came out to say that even 100,000 naira being given won't be enough, because they're going to be looking at into the, maybe for those who have worked in school, payment of school fees, are going to look at hospital bills, are going to be possibly maybe even looking at taking care of other people that are depending on you.
Food.
We're still fighting on the increase of minimum wage.
Yes.
And no wonder TUC said that they need a minimum wage to be increased to 200,000. But then we're yet to hear a reply coming back. So we just hope that in all of this thing that is happening, the government will come up with policies that will actually sit well with Nigerians. Of course, we know you can't please everybody. But then when we implement a policy, let us see that we actually have, talking about other things on ground that will be moving for Nigeria. Somebody came out to say that we will not feel the positive impact of it maybe till 2024. But Jemima, my question will be, are we going to wait till 2024 before we can survive? Nigerians will die before
They will
then.
die. Already they are dying.
Mm.
Really, people are struggling. People go days without food. Even when you have the money to buy food, how much of the food can you buy? It won't even sustain you. And then you have to share with others. They can't reach
Honestly,
that time.
Jemima, it's
Really.
quite sad. And still talking about policies and all of that. Just recently, the former president, in person of Olusegun Obasanjo, came out to say that Nigeria is living below expectation.
True.
Nigeria will be celebrating 63 by October. But then let's take a look at, for the past 63 years, what have our leaders left on ground for the coming generation to benefit from? Are going to be looking at in terms of other sectors, our agricultural sector, it is going down. Are going to be looking at our educational sector, it seems as if nothing is going or nothing is working in that angle. Are going to even look at even our transport sector. A lot of sectors seem to be going down and down and down. And the former president said this during a book launch recently, virtually, where they're looking at revealing of he said that Nigeria, he was looking at reclaiming the jewel of Africa. And he said that Nigeria have disappointed the country, Nigeria have disappointed Africa, Nigeria have disappointed the black race, Nigeria have disappointed the world. Back then, Jemima, when we're all growing up, we've all heard of this thing that Nigeria is the giant of Africa.
Yeah.
But then the question right now is, are we still maintaining that position as the giant of Africa? Are we still there? Or are we going back? Recently I was having a conversation with somebody and I said that, is this a country we hope to hand over to our coming generation? I'm scared for my future children. Why? Because I wonder what will become of the educational sector when I send them to school. We've seen where ASU went on strike for over 8 months last year. And yet they came out to tell the government to pay them. The government said no work, no pay, so there's no money. And this is the same school where we'll be sending our words lecturers are teaching them out of frustration. So if it would be out of place to actually say that we really, really need to do a lot, especially in regard to the statement coming from the former president, even though I was saying that if we're going to look at what he has to say, he was a one-time leader. What did he do during his time? And what can he learn to the future leaders? Because he said the future leaders lack the knowledge for development. Of course, we have good policies, but then to implement it, zero. We cannot even qualify that in any way. So I feel that at a time like this, really important that we wake up as a nation, not just talking about the leaders, but entirely everybody in the nation presently.
True. And well, I think if you say someone is 63 years, you're expecting much from that person. From his wealth of experience, from challenges, from downfalls, from achievements, and all of these things. You're expecting that this person will be a very strong person, because for that person to have been 63 years old, it means he or she has overcome a lot of challenges, and that is what we are expecting for our dear country, Nigeria. But that is not the case as it stands, because it's like we are going from bad to worse. Before, we were complaining about all these things that are happening now: transportation, hunger, hospital bills, food, and everything. We have always been complaining about that. But then, Sele, I think you would agree with me now that the complaint is higher than before.
Of course it is.
We are, if we were crawling before now, then now I would say we can't even crawl, because of how the hardship has really hit us so much on the face. And I think for us to be celebrating 63, we really need to top our game. We need to stand up and look at where we are not getting it right. There's something that is obviously wrong somewhere. So we need to sit up and really look at it. This is not an issue of blaming the leaders of the country. We as citizens of the country, what are we doing about it? Yes, we know that the leaders are the ones that are up there, right? And they have the power to do. But what have we done to help the leaders? What are we doing to see that the country is better? Because if you check, we the citizens, we also have our own role to play. There are certain things that are happening that we're not true to ourselves. The corruption is also down. Everything is also starting from down. Before they got to the top of the ladder, they were once citizens also. What did they do when they were citizens that they are not doing now? Do you understand? So it needs to start from us. We also need to pray for them. We need to stand up and fight for the country. We can't just leave the country. We can't hand it to the leaders alone. We need to do
You know, Gemma,
more.
when you were saying we should stand up and fight for the country, it takes me back to when anytime I have the opportunity or privilege, I say, possibly maybe we need to go back and, you know, will I say prayerfully? Not prayerfully at this point, but I think we need to sit down carefully and listen to the wordings of the national anthem and the pledge. I think we just said it casually because back then in primary school or secondary school,
We were always asked
you
to
were
sing
always
it,
asked to
so
sing
we
it.
sing it
But
without
then it's
really
not just
thinking.
a song. This is where you say you pledge. It's an allegiance to your country. But then we've had, just like you said, as a citizen, you didn't play your responsibility. So of course, if a little position given to you, you didn't carry it out well, how are we going to expect that even as a leader of a country you'll be able to do right?
Exactly.
Recently, a lot of things we've seen, just yesterday, the issue of the burial of the 103 hashtag answers, victims that died. Of course, the government came out to say that because nobody came to claim them. But then I'm looking at this beyond just the burial.
Yeah.
What happened? Something went wrong
Of
that
course.
pushed these people to that protest.
True.
So, Gemma, if we are saying about reclaiming the dread of Africa, Nigeria has a lot buried in it. Are we going to talk about having of crude oil? We have it in abundance.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about agriculture? There is nothing that you plant in this soil that doesn't grow well.
True.
Are we to talking about other, minerals that are buried that we are lazy to actually dig into it? Because according to the former president, he said the leaders have a very shallow knowledge of development. And that's why I think that this is where we need our former leaders to come in and tell us, how were you able to maintain Nigeria? Of course, we know that times have changed, a lot of things have changed, but I believe that there is something we can do to get it right.
Yes.
Presently, are we saying that we are not doing well? Yes. But are we saying we're going to remain there? No. We have the potential to grow if we are willing to put in the work. And I think this is the work that the former president is calling on the leaders, is calling on the citizens. Let's all put the work together so that Nigeria can be great again. Yes. Of course, a lot of people are laughing at the country. There was a time even when the president was being used as an example in another country looking at bad leadership. But we can't continue in this way. I mean, there was a time when Nigeria was being looked up to. In fact, looking at the just election that we had, a lot of looking at other countries were looking up to Nigeria, because if you look at our population alone, we have the human power, but then we are not utilizing all of this. So I hope that from all the presidents said, not to say that to discourage us, but just to let us know that Nigeria has what it takes to grow and be that country that every other nation will look onto and say, wow, Nigeria can actually make it again. So we look forward to that,
Yes,
Rachel.
I look forward to that as well.
Well, still, now let's look at this story finally.
Okay.
Looking at the fact that just recently, about 2 weeks back, we saw when the resident doctors came out to say that they are giving the federal government 2 weeks ultimatum to come up with something, looking at their allowances, looking at what they deserve in relation to what is happening. Over the years, we've seen that our resident doctors have not been well taken care of, and no wonder we've been having a brain drain when it comes to a lot of them leaving the shores of Nigeria to other countries. There was a time when they were even being banned from going to UK, even though other countries said that they are welcome. And each time you go abroad, you tend to find out for every hospital that a Nigerian doctor or a Nigerian nurse is working, they have the potential. But then you now ask the question, Jemima, what happened? Why is it that when they leave Nigeria to other countries, they do well, but when they're in their own country, they don't do well? And that's all boils down to what? Their welfare. And this is the same welfare, that they are actually telling the government to come up to their help. They had a meeting just recently in the FCT with the speaker where he said that he's actually looking at how we can avoid another strike. Because over the years, we've seen that if anything is not going right, the next thing we see is a strike. When their allowance or their demands were not being met, they went on strike. And now we're seeing that resident doctors also saying that they will go on strike. But the speaker have said that they are just coming into power, and he's hoping that they'll be able to give them the opportunity, ample time to look into some of their hazard allowance and meet other allowances and other salary that they have not been paid for a couple of years, of months. So right now, looking at the fact that this is a sector that we're not supposed to neglect whatsoever.
Yes.
The health sector is a sector that we're supposed to give it all the attention that it needs. But then over the years, we've seen that we've neglected that sector. And no wonder the resident doctor actually threatening to go on strike if something is not being done for them.
Well, I feel that Nigeria has all it takes to do well. In fact, to do more than some of these countries. I think one of the challenges that we have as a country is equipment, what you need to work with. Our doctors will leave the country and go out, and they do exceedingly well in their professions. They beat your imaginations. But when they come back, they don't do as much as they are doing, just like you mentioned earlier. It boils down to equipment. When you are taught something and you don't have what you need to work with it, then it's as good as you don't know it, because you only have the theory in your head. You cannot practicalize that which you have learned. But I believe that if they have all the equipment they need, they will do very well. They will do more than what we think. And then giving them what they need, I think it will boost it will help them to want to do well. Yes, their morale. It will help them to want to do well for their country. This is their country. If you don't do well for your country, where else will you do well? You go outside and you're doing very well. These are people that are not even yours. But then you come back and you don't have what you need to work with. So I believe if they are given all that they need, if everything they need is in their disposal, they would exceed our imaginations. They will do way better than we are thinking. And then just like you mentioned, health is not something that we need to joke with. When you fall sick, your prayer and earnest heart desire is to get well. But when you don't have people that will cater for you to nurse you back to good health, then there is a problem. So we shouldn't joke with the health sector. It is a very important part of this country.
Jemima, it really breaks my heart. Just recently, I was in one of our own government hospital here, and it was strange to me when I saw that the OPD was locked. And I was kind of wondering, so that is to say that there is no doctor to attend to patients. So if they're sick, you have to resolve to go into the private hospital.
Yes.
But at the time when we're looking at the cost of living is very high.
Exactly.
How
Private
many
hospitals
people
are really expensive because they have the equipment and they know how much they invested in these things. So of course they need to put an amount that they will be able, they can't run at a loss at the end of the day.
Jemima, that's why I hope that the government will actually look into this. Of course, I know that just like the speaker said, they're coming into power, but that is no excuse. One thing with leadership is the fact that you inherit both the good and the bad. So where they leave anything that is not right, it's up to you to fix it. So right now, I don't think any resident doctor wants to hear the fact that whether you're coming into power freshly or not, all they need is for you to give attention to that sector. And I hope
Yes.
that, beyond just the paperwork, I hope that our government will realize that a lot of things are going really, really not the way it should be. This is just one sector out of many other sectors that really, really need an emergency to be done to it. Just recently, the president looked into food security. But then we also have the issue of health. What is going to happen? Right now, back was then when they would say that we have 30,000 patients to a doctor. But right now, Jemima, I am very sure it is more than that because more doctors are leaving every day.
Yes.
More professionals are leaving the shores of Nigeria every day.
Yes.
So what then happened? And I just hope that the government will actually look into fixing all of this things because, of course, they don't fix what they are supposed to fix. Recently on the papers was the fact where we saw the governor of Edo State was stuck in a pothole, and the person that was covering it said that all of us will eat it. It will meet all of us because when we kept, when Nigerians kept shouting, fix the road, it looks like Nigerians were actually making a force out of it. But we saw where the government, talking about the government convoy was stuck in the traffic. Why? Because the road was very bad.
Yes.
The same thing applies to our health sector. I believe that beyond them always flying out of the country, we are enriching other countries when it comes to the fact of health tourism.
Yes.
I hope that we also invest in our own country because just like we said, at the end of the day, this country belongs to all of us. So
Yes.
whether you do good, whether you do bad, we all, eat the fruit of the land. So I hope that our government will actually look at all of this thing from that point of view.
I hope so too because we're really looking forward to a beautiful Nigeria in character, in history, in achievements, challenges, and everything that you can think of. And I know that we will get there. I know that we can get there with so much determination. If everyone is willing to put our hands on deck, we will get there. We can do that.
Of course, Jemima, we can do that. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Welcome.
And thank you so much to our viewers for keeping a day with us on the program Nigerian Now. It was really a privilege to actually share with you some of the concerns of, Nigerians. And we hope that together we can put our hands and make Nigeria great again because this is the only country we got and we have to do all that it takes to make Nigeria great. Until we come here again tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.